Hi, I'm Midge Shoemaker, and today is day 37 of my doing 100 days of YouTube videos and celebrating myself. I keep on saying focus on something, but I'm like, no, I'm celebrating myself. Day 37. I can't believe I've come up with 37 things to celebrate so far. Today I kind of wanted to celebrate choices because I was having a hard time making a choice. I always have a hard time making choices because I have a little bit of perfectionism in me, or a lot of perfectionism in me, and I always want to make the right choice, the perfect choice. I want to make the choice that doesn't upset other people. I want the choice that gives me the answers, that gets me the fastest way to wherever it is that I'm going. Those are the choices that I want to make. But I don't always know the outcome of my choices. I don't think anybody really knows the outcome of our choices. But we have choices, and I realize in thinking about or celebrating choices, my life is made up of the choices that I have chosen to make, and some of the choices have not been very good choices. Some of the choices have been okay choices. Some of the choices I don't think really matter one way or the other. And some of the choices I've made in my life have been really good and have brought forth really amazing blessings and miracles in my life. And I am made up of all of my choices, and I have a tendency to replay the choices in my mind. Did I make the right choice? Did I say the right thing? Did I do the right thing? And I forget that I have to be in today, and it's done. Like, the choice I made is made, and I am stuck with whatever the consequences are, right, wrong, whatever. And but I am grateful that if I don't necessarily make the best choice, or I make a wrong choice, that I have the option to change, to make a different choice, to correct it. I feel like God often gives me an opportunity, a different kind of opportunity, but to learn the same lesson, or to have the same blessings that I may have missed out on when I made the wrong choice in my life. And things eventually work out based on my choices. I mean, kind of prime example for choices really is because I'm dealing with this injury from like 2 months ago. And a month ago, I had the choice to go to the urgent care or to go see a podiatrist. And I didn't really know a podiatrist. I didn't have a referral to a podiatrist. I just looked one up online and called them, and was trying to figure out what the price was going to be, what my best options were going to be. And in the end, I decided I didn't want to wait to see the podiatrist, and I chose to go to the urgent care. Um, Oddly enough, a month later, I end up going to see a podiatrist, a different one that I initially was going to see. So it's not the same one that I had looked up and was going to see. It's a different one. However, the end result was that I finally got the answers as to what's wrong with my leg, and I am finally able to take some medication that will hopefully help heal my injury instead of it continuing to progressively get worse. And that choice may have ultimately saved my life, which is amazing. It's also kind of scary to think that I had the choice a month ago and I did not make that choice. I don't know if the outcome would have been the same or different, but I am grateful that in spite of how bad it got, that I did choose to recognize the fact that it was getting worse, and that I had the choice to listen to my doctor at my primary care physician's office, not the regular doctor I used to see, but a doctor in my doctor's office. I had the choice to listen to her and to continue to try my own personal home remedies that have not been working for the past 2 months, or I had the choice to continue to seek other help or assistance. And so I did ask around. I did ask for opinions from friends, from family. I did ask for referrals, like, anybody help me here. And the funny thing is, I did ask people for referrals to podiatrists over a month ago, and they either didn't respond, or they said, oh, the only ones I know are too expensive. And I'm like, okay, but I'm injured. I need to see one. And and this time around, I just asked a friend that recently went, and she gave me the information, and I got the help that I needed. And I don't know if it was meant to happen that way based on my choices, or if this was just God stepping in again, because I didn't make the right choice to see a podiatrist a month ago. But he's like, you need to see somebody because this is not good. because it was getting worse. And I chose to recognize that, and I chose to be persistent and go see somebody else because I wasn't getting the answers that I wanted. I wasn't not the answers I wanted. I wasn't getting the answers I needed. I was not getting the help that I needed when I went to see my doctor. I did not get the help that I needed when I went to the urgent care. So, I mean, I did get some help from the urgent care because I did have an ear infection. So I did get antibiotics for an ear infection, which was nice. But I did not get help for my injury, which progressively got worse. And which, again, if I'd seen the podiatrist, I would have had to see my regular doctor for the ear infection, but that's a whole lot easier to deal with than the injury, which turned out to be a lot more life-threatening than I thought that it was. So I am really grateful that it did not turn into something way worse because of my choices. And not that I made bad choices, or not that I knew. I mean, I didn't think my injury was life-threatening. I thought maybe something was broken or something just didn't feel right. But everybody seemed to think that it was okay and it was just going to heal on its own. So, choices. I have choices. And just to, I don't know, I don't like talking about this, but choices. I have lots of choices. I have choices as to what to share in my videos. I have choices as to how much personal details I put into these. I have lots of choices, and my choices are also a way of expressing who I am or how I'm feeling. My choices can also be what I'm hiding, what I'm afraid of, and make choices based on my emotions and my fears, and sometimes choose not to take the right action. But in this case, I had blood clots in my leg, and it was hurting in my calf where the blood clots are apparently located. And so I knew something was wrong. But when I went to see the urgent care doctor, they did not seem to be concerned about my leg, and the sore on the front of it was just minuscule and looked like it was kind of healing. He's like, that's not really infected. Don't worry about it. You're fine. And I'm like, okay, but my leg really hurts. And it's like, okay, let's x-ray your foot. And I'm like, because my foot hurt too. So I x-rayed my foot. Foot's not broken. You're good. Don't worry about it. I was like, and we're just going to ignore the leg thing. Like, okay. So fast forward a month and it's like, leg sore is like, I don't know, 10 times larger than it was originally. Maybe more so. It's expanded, it's red, it's itchy, it's purple, it's doing weird things. Not good. And go see my regular doctor, and she says it's not infected. I'm like, it's like 10 times the size it was a month ago. How is that not infected? That's not normal. And she's like, oh, no, it's just scar tissue that happens. And I'm like, okay, but it's rashing and it's itching. And she's like, well, don't scratch it. Just put Vaseline and Neosporin on it. It'll be fine. And Vaseline. And it turns out, according to the podiatrist, that the pain that I was having in my calf when he squeezed it, and knowing that there was an injury involved, was actually an indication that there was blood clots in my leg, which is something when I mentioned to the urgent care doctor, he should have caught on that if I was complaining about pain in the back of my leg from an injury on the front of my leg, that there were possible blood clots a month ago. But he chose not to do that, so I have to deal with other people's choices as well as my own choices that affect my life. But again, I chose to see the urgent care doctor and not the podiatrist. And I can't really blame the urgent care doctor because I had like a tiny little whatever. But I was really angry at my primary care doctor, and I talked to my sister today, and she was like, you should call and just let her know what happened, because maybe she's unaware of that, and it would be a good idea for her as in the future to help other patients so that they don't have to go through the same thing that I went through. And I really appreciated my sister's perspective on that, because I do have the choice to like call and be angry at this doctor and never go back to see this doctor, or I have the choice to politely correct this doctor and say, hey, or just call the doctor's office and say, hey, look, I was here, I was misdiagnosed, this is what the actual diagnosis is, you might want to talk to your doctor so they can pay attention in the future, because when I went to the vascular specialist, they informed me that the redness and the rashing around my injury is also an indication of blood clots. So I had I had at least 2 indications of blood clots in my leg, and I had 2 different doctors that told me it was nothing. And I had the choice to believe them, or I had the choice to continue to look for answers because it did not feel right to me. And I am grateful that I have choices. I am grateful that I am learning to stand up for myself. Maybe not in the moment. Maybe I still kind of do the backwards side of things because I I have a tendency, if I don't get the answer I'm looking for, I just go somewhere else. I don't confront. I don't say anything to the people that don't give me the right answer. I just go look for the right answer somewhere else. Or, I just quietly sulk or complain to other people and not to the person involved. I need to do better at that. I need to make better choices of standing up for myself. But in this case, I chose to keep seeking answers because I felt that there was something not right, and I chose to listen to myself. I chose to listen to my body, and went to see the podiatrist and was informed that blood clots could be life-threatening. And I'm like, wow, I had blood clots in my leg possibly for 2 months that could have been very life-threatening, and they're not. And my sister was pointing that out when I was talking to her, and I pointed out another choice that I had. I had the choice as to how to respond to that. And my choice, rather than being, I am irritated with my one doctor because, like, I saw her a week ago, and I was just, I just felt like I wasted money to go see her because she did not even, like, she barely addressed the issue with my leg and focused on some other health issue that I have. Like, that was the primary concern. I'm like, that's not what I came in here for. I know I have this other health issue. I'm not here to discuss this other health issue. I'm here to discuss my leg. And so I don't know if my other health issue has anything to do with why I have blood clots, but I was told that an injury like that can create blood clots, and it can be life-threatening if not treated. So the signs were there. I just had to choose to see the right doctor. And I did have the idea or thought to go see a podiatrist. I just didn't know one, and I just didn't pursue it in the beginning. And after 2 months, I was like, okay, I will I will listen to that little voice that says, go see a podiatrist. So my choices prolonged my injury and made it much more worse and or obvious that there was something going on in order for me to listen to it, because I do have a tendency to choose to ignore myself sometimes or to ignore my body, which is not always the best choice. But I am grateful. Like I told my sister, I am grateful to see that God did not make it worse, did not make it a life-threatening thing, that he has some purpose for me because he protected me. He made it so that those blood clots did not go anywhere. They're just stuck in my leg, and gave me the opportunity, multiple opportunities, to choose to go see someone that would recognize the urgency and the need for treatment for my injury, and for the blood clots, obviously. So I now have treatment and appointments who follow up with doctors that actually recognize and were concerned about my injury. And I had the choice, again, to blame myself, to beat myself up, to be frustrated and annoyed with myself because I didn't go see a podiatrist in the beginning or anywhere sooner in the past 2 months. And instead, I just chose to be grateful that I did go see, chose to be grateful that I finally have answers, choosing to be grateful that after just a few days of medication, that it's still very painful. I will not lie about that. The pain is actually intensified, but the itching has gone down dramatically as far as the itching in my leg, which was, I don't know if that's the fungal infection on the front, which the podiatrist noticed, or if it has to do with the blood clots. I have no idea, but the itching is dramatically reduced, which is fantastic. Um, and the redness is going away as well. It's not as bright red. It is more tender to the touch than it was before. I don't know if it's now because there's blood actually flowing to the injury that it's like, we hurt. There wasn't enough blood flowing through it that I'm like, I could feel it, but I could ignore it, and now I can't. I don't know. It also might just be a side effect of the medication that's causing the pain, which is not nice because you have side effects of medication that causes leg pain, and I already have leg pain because of an injury, so then I have double leg pain. But as I did in one of my videos earlier, I do have a high tolerance for pain, which has made it so that I am not screaming in pain and crying all the time. So again, I feel extremely blessed, and I feel extremely grateful, and I am also extremely grateful that I have the choice to recognize my blessings and to be grateful for them. And I'm also grateful for that choice, because I know a year ago, before I was doing these videos, when everything in my world was falling apart, I was super depressed and I felt like I had no choices. I couldn't get myself to do anything. I couldn't care. I couldn't do nothing. It was very difficult for me to function. And there have been many times in my life when I hated having choices. I'm like, why are you giving me the choice? I'm going to make the wrong choice. I want someone else to give me like all the right answers so I can just do the right thing and not ever get in trouble, not ever have to feel the pain. And I am learning that the pain and the emotions in my life, another day that I celebrated emotions, is just part of life. And if I don't feel the pain, I can't appreciate the happy times and the good times. And it's a balance, and it's part of life. And sometimes feeling the pain and making the mistakes means that I'm living, that I'm alive, and that's maybe it's not always fun and games. It's not always um, smiling and all of those things, but it's still okay. And I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful to know that I didn't give up my choices. I haven't allowed someone else to live my life. I've tried a few times. It just doesn't work. And other people tell me what to do, and I don't like what they do. So it's one of those, I want to say oxymoron things. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but it's like I want someone else to give me all the right answers or make all the choices for me, but then I want to complain about all the choices they make because I don't necessarily agree with them, or I want to just go doing my own thing anyway and just ignore them. So it's kind of pointless for me to say that. So it's one of those where I have the one extreme or the other going on inside of me. I have quite the extremes sometimes, and I have the choice as to which direction that little pendulum is going to swing. Sometimes I think it swings on its own without really giving me the option, but I have the option to indulge or to try to pull out of it, walk away, whatever it may be. I had that choice last night when it came to working, and I did not want to work at all. I was like, I don't want to go to work. I spent the whole day avoiding it. And I finally sent a text message to my bishop and just telling him, venting my frustration with everything. And then as soon as I did, I felt better and I went to work. It was weird. Okay, I didn't actually emotionally, I felt better. Physically, I was still tired and in a lot of pain, and I didn't really want to go to work, but I needed to go to work because I needed to make the money. But I also realized that as I was out doing that I have a tendency to feel overwhelmed with what's going on in my life, and I let that overwhelm take over. I let it take over, and and then I get disappointed. I get discouraged. I give up because it's too much, and I can't do it. Which is not true. Those are the lies that I tell myself, or those are the feelings that pop up, and I'm just like, I know this is what I need to do, and I could tell myself 1,000 times over, I know that this is what I need to do, and it's okay. But I finally left my house. I said a prayer, and I was praying, and then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to tell my bishop because I just can't do this, and I need help. And then I text my bishop, and then I felt better because I got it off my chest, and I'm like, okay, now he knows what's going on in my life, and then I have to, but then I also have this, knowledge that I have to do everything that I can do. That's how God works. I do my part, and he makes up the difference. But if I don't do anything, he's got nothing to work with. So if I want help from the bishop, if I want help from my church, I have to do my part. I have to show how much effort I put into it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to put in all of this effort. I'm short this much money. I need this much money. And I got what I needed when I went to work. I don't have any extra. I had to drain my savings, but I got the money, and I didn't have to get help. But I had the choice, and the choice was there, and I made that choice, and today I had choices too. I chose to go to church, even though I knew that they redid the flooring, and that messes with my asthma. I lasted for 1 hour. There was a second hour, and I just was like, not going to do this. I'm not going to sit through another hour of trying not to cough and drinking tons of water and not really wanting to use my inhaler. for my asthma because I don't know how it's going to react to the medication that I'm taking for my fungal infection and my blood thinners. So I'm hoping they're not interacting badly with each other, the antibiotics and this. The blood thinner things, but it just makes me leery of what else I would put into my body or what else that I'm going to eat or do, because I don't want to make anything worse than it already is. But it just reminds me that I do have choices as to what I take. I do have choices as to how I respond to all of this. And I have the choice, like I told my sister, to just be extremely grateful to be alive. I have the choice to be grateful that for whatever reason, God has spared me and given me multiple opportunities and options to go see a podiatrist. And when I finally did, I got the answers and the medication that I needed for my leg. And I have the choice to be like, oh man, I wish I'd done this like months ago. And if I'd done this, then my life would be this, that, or the other. And then I have the choice that I'm choosing to go with, where I just remind myself when those crazy thoughts pop into my head that they're crazy thoughts. And I can't go back in time. I can't change anything that I did, but I can move forward, and I can be grateful that I have answers now. I can be grateful that the medication is hopefully working. I can be grateful that I have doctors that are willing to follow up with me. I can be grateful for the choices that I've made. And I shared this information with my dad Shoemaker, tonight. And he gave me some options or ideas of things that I can do, and ways to thank the doctors that helped me out, which I think is a really good idea. So I have the choice to listen and to follow through with that, or I have the choice to be like, oh, that's a nice idea, I'll do that. Maybe not. Which I do sometimes. I do have those choices, but those choices, the choices that I make, even the little choices, can determine the person that I'm becoming, can determine the outcome of my attitude. And sometimes it is just a matter of choosing what to focus on. If I'm going to focus on the Lord, if I'm going to focus on what God wants in my life, if I'm going to focus on being grateful for the things that are working out, or if I'm going to focus on the things that just irritated me and are making my life miserable. And I'm really grateful that I started these videos with 100 Days of Gratitude, because it has really changed my attitude. And it has really changed my perspective and my focus, so that when things like this happen, I can more clearly see the choices that I have to make. And again, I don't always make the healthiest choices when it comes to, what I eat or exercising or sleeping or things like that. Things I need to do better at, obviously. I know I'm not perfect, and I am never going to make all of the right, perfect choices. And I may have days go exactly the way that I want. Or I may have days where I try and do everything that I, wanted to do, and it just doesn't work out. No matter what I choose, it just doesn't work out, because it's probably not meant to. But I'm always given opportunities to, I guess, to redeem myself, to make changes, to find the answers that I didn't find in the past. God never gives up on me. I never have to give up on myself, but I have that choice. I have the choice to give up. I have the choice to keep going. And doing these videos is helping me make the choice to continue to keep going, even on the days when I feel like I haven't done anything. It's like, okay, but if I could just make my video. And it gives me that little strand of hope that I am still making progress, that I can do this, and this is my choice. This is what I want to do. This is the direction that I feel like I need to go in my life. And there's so much more that I wish that I was doing. And I have the choice to try to work on more of those goals and more of my writing and other such things. And I don't always focus on those things, but I am really grateful for the choices, because they do define me. They do show who I am. They do help me change who I am. They do help me become something better. They also, on occasion, give me the option to beat myself up, or the option to share my load with someone else. And sometimes just sharing my load with someone else makes me feel light enough that I can go to work. Like last night, I vented to my bishop, I'm overwhelmed, I can't do this. And then I went to work, and I'm like, oh, apparently I can. So just sometimes that's just what I need to do. So and then tonight I was just sharing all of the story with Dad Shoemaker, and he was giving me tons of advice on things that I can do. And I think he has some really good advice in there, and I am grateful for an adopted dad that gives me advice and information and wants the best for me and reminds me, again, that I have choices. Because it was just funny because Mom Shoemaker was sitting there and she was like, she would go for revenge and go for the jugular or whatever his dad was, Shoemaker was saying. They were joking, but they're a fun couple. I love them. uh, they're just awesome parents. Anyway, Dad Shoemaker was like, don't go for more than is necessary. Just go for what you want. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to get? And just do that. Don't go for revenge. Don't go for the extra, because then you always lose. And I love that advice. You always lose if you try to go for revenge. If you're just trying to get justice, if you're just trying to get back what was taken, that's fine. And then just call it even, call it quits, whatever. But if you're trying to get revenge, if you're trying to make it hard on the other person, then you always end up losing. And I think even if you were to like win in a court of law, something like that, you lose because you lose some of your integrity. You lose some of that sanity. It just makes you an angry, mean, vindictive person sometimes, and have a choice to indulge in that, or the choice to say, okay, that would be nice, but that's not what I need, and I don't want to be that kind of person. So I always have that choice. And I wasn't even going to call my doctor tomorrow, but my sister and Dad Shoemaker both think that that would be a good idea. And maybe they might give me my money back because seriously, I had, issues with my leg that should have been recognized by a doctor and they were not. And so, but I did see a doctor that did recognize it, and I am grateful for that. And to me that's enough. I'm like, I'm just annoyed that that doctor didn't know what she was doing. And maybe she knows what she's doing with other things, like the other issues that she wanted to talk about. She knows what to do with. She just didn't know what to do with my injury. So she was like, okay, this is fine. Let's deal with this other stuff. And I'm like, but this isn't fine. And I chose not to argue with her at that point, but I also chose to take care of myself. I chose to keep looking and find the right answers, or find answers that actually make sense to me, because I need things that make sense to me, because I've been so confused most of my life, because I've had internally feeling one way and have other people externally telling me that I'm wrong, or that I'm not feeling the right things and thinking there's something wrong with me. And then as an adult in therapy and 12-step programs and other things, realizing like, nope, there was nothing wrong with me. I need to listen to myself, because those other people did not have my best interest in mind, and they were doing things they weren't supposed to be doing. And they were trying to convince me that it was okay. And I just was a kid and didn't know any different and didn't know any better. So I'm grateful to know that I have that choice. I still don't always, like I said, make the best choices. But I am grateful to know that my choices define me, and I am grateful to know that I have choices. I don't have to give up my right to choose to anyone else for any reason whatsoever. And I always have the right to change my mind. I have the choice to change my mind at any point. I can change my mind. I can change my attitude. I can change my focus. Those are all choices that I have to make in my life every day, and I have the choice to make these videos, which I like doing. So I've had a lot of choices that have had, like I said, some have had really positive effects on my life, and some have had some not so positive effects on my life. And I'm grateful for the positive effects that they have had, that things have had on my life, and I'm grateful for the choices of, as I say, choice people that are in my life. Some that have come into my life because I needed them. Some that kind of wish they weren't. But there's always a lesson or a blessing in every choice that I make. And I'm grateful that I have the option to see it that way, that I have the perspective to see it as every choice is a lesson or a blessing. and I like it. It's a lesson much better than it's a mistake or it's a bad choice. There are some probably really bad choices out there. And like I said, I'm not perfect. I know I've made my share of bad choices, but I am grateful that I can learn from my choices. I can learn from the lessons from those choices, and I can learn to do better. sometimes I think I have to repeat quite a few things because I'm a little bit of a slow learner on occasion, and I like to say that I'm a fast learner when it comes to like learning how to do stuff. People show me how to do things. I'm like, oh, okay, I can pick that up pretty good. But when it comes to life lessons and actually changing things, it's like, yeah, I know it in my head and I know the answers, but I just choose not to, to do it. And it takes that much longer to get it, into my heart, to get it, make it a part of who I am. But when I do make those positive choices, like choosing to focus on gratitude for 100 days, it did make a lot of changes in me, and I'm grateful for that choice, and I'm grateful that it's stuck with me to this point. I hope it continues for the rest of my life because it does make things easier. It does make me feel a whole lot lighter and better when I can just look and say, okay, I have the choice to be angry at the doctor, or I have the choice to say that doctor just didn't know anything about injuries, so she focused on what she did know, which was not what I had gone in to see her about, and it was not something that I wanted to discuss. So I'm like, it's not something I can. I'm like, I'm not. I'm not here for that. Yes, it's probably something I need to deal with. You're right. It is something I need to deal with. But right now, I'm worried about my leg because there's something not right with my leg. And she was just like, well, it's an injury. Anything below the knee, you see a foot doctor for. I don't know anything. But she didn't say she didn't know anything about it. She just said, oh, it doesn't look infected, and put Neosporin and Vaseline on it. And I was like, if that had worked, I wouldn't be here. It's been 2 months. If that had worked, I wouldn't be here. So, but she didn't listen to me, and I had the choice to be offended by that, or I had the choice to recognize that she didn't know about injuries, which is why she mentioned the foot doctor, and she focused on what she did know, and that's why she changed the subject to my lab work from like 2 years ago, and I need to like have more lab work done and see where I'm at and try to work on my weight issues and all of that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, can we fix my leg first? that's But we were not on the same page, and I had the choice to see that as we were just not on the same page, and she was either intentionally not listening to me or just did not know what else to do for me, because for whatever reason she was not doesn't know much about injuries. So apparently you have to go to an urgent care and emergency room if you have broken bones or injuries. You can't go see a regular doctor, which I thought was weird, but specialists for all of that. I'm just not paying emergency room prices for anything, that's for sure. But anyway, I ramble, I prattle, and I am grateful that I can find more positive choices, because if I spend my time and energy choosing to be angry at a doctor, then I just get tense and I can't sleep, and my head just starts spinning and spinning all the negative things. But if I choose to just accept that that's not her area of expertise, and I just needed to find a doctor whose area of expertise my injury was, which is the podiatrist. And as soon as I found a podiatrist, went to one, problem solved. I at least know what's going on with my injuries, and I have follow-up appointments, and